First contact. Zarak adjusted her ceremonial robes nervously as she approached the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Confederation. The young Centaurian diplomat's forearms trembled slightly, betraying her anxiety. This was her first major assignment, representing her people at the largest gathering of species in the known universe. As she entered the vast chamber, her compound eyes struggled to take in the sheer diversity of life forms present. Crystalline beings floated alongside gaseous entities, while more familiar bipedal and quadrupedal species mingled in small groups. The cacophony of languages and thought transmissions was overwhelming. A sudden hush fell over the crowd as the Confederation's High Chancellor, an ancient axiom with shimmering, tentacle-like appendages, took the central podium. Esteemed representatives, the Chancellor's voice echoed telepathically. We gather today to welcome a new species into our galactic community. They call themselves humans. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Zarak's antenna twitched with curiosity. She had heard whispers about these humans, a primitive species that had somehow managed to achieve faster-than-light travel in a remarkably short time. The chamber's massive doors swung open, and a small delegation entered. Zarak's eyes widened as she took in their appearance. They were bipedal, like many species, but their exposed skin seemed fragile, lacking any apparent natural defenses. Their eyes were fixed forward, lacking the panoramic vision common to most spacefaring races. The lead human, a female with long, dark fur atop her head, stepped forward. Greetings, members of the Galactic Confederation. I am Ambassador Elena Rodriguez of Earth. We are honored to join this esteemed assembly. Zarak was surprised by the simplicity of their language. No telepathy, no complex harmonics, just basic sound waves. How had such a species managed to reach the stars? As the formal introductions continued, Zarak found herself drawn closer to the human delegation. Their mannerisms were fascinating. So expressive, yet so inefficient. They seemed to rely heavily on verbal communication, supplemented by a complex series of facial movements and gestures. During the recess, Zarak gathered her courage and approached Ambassador Rodriguez. Greetings, human, she chittered, her translator converting her complex vocalizations into the human's simplistic language. I am Zarak of Centauri Prime. Your species intrigues me. The human's face contorted into what Zarak would later learn was a smile. It's a pleasure to meet you, Zarak. Elena responded warmly. We're quite intrigued by all of you as well. This is, well, it's beyond our wildest dreams. Zarak's curiosity got the better of her. If I may ask, Ambassador, how did your species achieve faster-than-light travel so quickly? Our records show your civilization only discovered electricity a few centuries ago. Elena chuckled, another curious human expression. We're a determined bunch, Zarak. When we set our minds to something, we tend to pour everything we have into it. Space exploration has been a dream of our people for generations. As they continued to chat, Zarak found herself both impressed and puzzled by the humans. They seemed to lack many of the advanced cognitive abilities common to Confederation species, yet they spoke of incredible feats of engineering and scientific discovery. The conversation was interrupted by a commotion near the central podium. A group of Draconians, a warrior race known for their aggressive expansion, were loudly protesting the humans' inclusion in the Confederation. These primitives have no place among us. The Draconian ambassador snarled, his scaled fists pounding on the podium. They'll bring nothing but chaos and destruction to our orderly galaxy. Zarak expected the humans to cower or retreat in the face of such a formidable species. To her shock, Ambassador Rodriguez calmly walked up to the podium, her posture radiating confidence. With all due respect, Ambassador, Elena's voice rang out clearly. Humanity has faced its share of challenges and conflicts, but we've also achieved great things through cooperation and mutual understanding. We're here to learn, to contribute, and to be part of something greater than ourselves. The human's words seemed to resonate with many in the chamber. Even some of the Draconians looked thoughtful. Zerak felt a newfound respect for these strange, soft-skinned beings. As the session resumed, Zerak found her earlier skepticism about the humans fading. Yes, they were different, perhaps even primitive in some ways, but there was something compelling about their passion and adaptability. The day's proceedings concluded with a series of cultural exchanges. Zerak watched in fascination as the humans shared examples of their art, music, and scientific achievements. Their creativity seemed boundless, their expressions of emotion raw and powerful. During the final reception, Zerak once again sought out Ambassador Rodriguez. "I must admit, Ambassador, I had my doubts about your species when you first arrived, but you've given me much to think about." Elena nodded, her eyes twinkling with what Zerak was learning to recognize as amusement. "We tend to have that effect on people. We're not the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced species out there, but we're eager to learn, quick to adapt, and we never, ever give up." As Zerak retired to her quarters that night, her mind buzzed with thoughts of the curious humans. They were an enigma, seemingly fragile, yet resilient, technologically young, yet innovative. Something told her that the galaxy would never be quite the same now that humanity had joined the cosmic community. Little did Zerak know just how prophetic that thought would prove to be. As she drifted off to sleep, the stars outside her window twinkled peacefully, giving no hint of the monumental changes that lay just over the horizon. Changes that would reshape the fate of the galaxy, with humanity playing a pivotal role. The threat emerges. 5 years had passed since humanity's introduction to the Galactic Confederation. Zerak, now a seasoned diplomat, found herself once again in the Grand Assembly Hall. But this time, the atmosphere was far from celebratory. "Order. We must have order." The High Chancellor's psychic voice boomed across the chamber, silencing the panicked chatter of hundreds of species. Zerak's compound eyes darted nervously around the room, taking in the fear etched on faces both familiar and alien. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez sat beside her, the human's usual confident demeanor replaced by a grim determination. "What do we know so far?" Elena whispered. Before Zerak could respond, a holographic display flickered to life above the central podium. The image showed a massive, obsidian ship unlike anything Zerak had ever seen. Its surface seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. A Volcran scientist, his tentacles trembling, began to speak. The attack on the Regelian colony was swift and devastating. This vessel appeared from nowhere, bypassing all our early warning systems. Its weapons, the Volcran paused, struggling to continue. Its weapons were beyond anything we've encountered. They didn't just destroy. They seemed to erase matter itself. Gasps and cries of disbelief echoed through the chamber. Zerak felt a chill run through her exoskeleton. In all of recorded galactic history, no threat of this magnitude had ever emerged. The Draconian ambassador, once so dismissive of humanity, now turned to Elena with desperation in his reptilian eyes. "Surely your species must have some experience with this, some hidden weapon or strategy." Elena shook her head slowly. "I'm afraid not, Ambassador. This is as new to us as it is to you, but rest assured, humanity stands ready to assist in any way we can." As the assembly descended into chaotic debate, more reports flooded in. Colonies on the fringes of Confederation space were going dark, one by one. The mysterious attackers left no survivors, no ruins, just empty space where thriving worlds once stood. Zerak leaned close to Elena, her voice low. "I've never seen anything like this. The Confederation has stood for millennia, but now..." She trailed off, unable to voice her fears. Elena's jaw was set, her eyes focused on the holographic displays of devastation. "We faced extinction-level threats before, on our own world. We survived through unity, innovation, and sheer determination. Perhaps that's what the galaxy needs now." The High Chancellor's voice cut through the din once more. "We have received a transmission. The attackers have deigned to communicate." The holographic display shifted, and Zerak felt her heart skip a beat. The being on the screen was like nothing she had ever seen. It appeared to be composed of shifting dark energy, its form barely constrained to a humanoid shape. When it spoke, the words seemed to bypass language entirely, burning themselves directly into the minds of all present. We are the void. Your existence is an affront to the purity of emptiness. You will be unmade, your very atoms scattered across the cosmic winds. Resistance is not only futile, it is impossible. As the transmission cut off, a deathly silence fell over the assembly. Zorak turned to Elena, expecting to see the same terror she felt reflected in the human's eyes. Instead, she saw something unexpected, a fierce, almost predatory gleam. "Well," Elena said, her voice steady, "they certainly know how to make an entrance." The draconian ambassador snarled, "This is no time for your human humor. Did you not hear them? We face annihilation." Elena stood, her presence somehow filling the room despite her small stature. "With all due respect, Ambassador, humanity has heard that threat before. We've stared into the abyss of our own extinction more than once. Each time, we've come back stronger." She turned to address the entire assembly. "Yes, this enemy is powerful. Yes, they have technology beyond our understanding. But look around this room. We have the combined knowledge and resources of 1,000 civilizations. We have diversity that this void can't even comprehend. And most importantly, we have something worth fighting for, our very existence." Zorak felt a surge of something. Not quite hope, but perhaps its precursor, determination. She stood beside Elena. "The human speaks wisdom. We cannot allow fear to paralyze us. We must act, and act now." The High Chancellor's tentacles waved in agreement. "Indeed. We hereby declare a state of galactic emergency. All resources must be directed towards this threat. We need solutions, strategies, anything that might give us an edge." As the assembly broke into urgent discussions, Zorak pulled Elena aside. "That was impressive. But do you really believe we have a chance?" Elena's eyes met Zorak's compound gaze, unwavering. "Honestly, I don't know. But I do know this. Humanity didn't come all this way, didn't finally reach the stars, just to watch them go dark. We'll find a way, Zorak. We always do." As they turned back to the chaotic planning session, alerts began pouring in from all corners of the galaxy. The void was on the move, their dark ships appearing in system after system. The greatest war in galactic history had begun, with the very fabric of existence hanging in the balance. Zorak felt the weight of history pressing down upon her. She knew that whatever happened next would reshape the galaxy forever. And somehow, improbably, she found herself glad that humanity was here to face it with them. These curious, determined beings might just be the key to their survival. As the first strategies were hashed out and the first fleets mobilized, Zorak couldn't shake the feeling that this crisis would forge unlikely alliances and reveal hidden strengths in all of them. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity, it seemed, would be at the heart of that change. Unlikely alliance. The war room of the Galactic Confederation's Central Command buzzed with frantic activity. Holograms flickered, showing the relentless advance of the void across star systems. Zorak stood before a tactical display, her 4 arms moving in sync as she manipulated the data streams. "The void has breached the Orion Arm," she reported, her voice tight. "We've lost contact with 37 colonies in the last solar cycle alone." Elena Rodriguez, now serving as humanity's military liaison, frowned at the display. "They're moving faster than we anticipated. Our current strategies aren't working." The draconian war chief, Kazarak, slammed his scaled fist on the table. "Of course they're not working. We're fighting an enemy that can simply unmake matter. How do you defend against that?" "By thinking outside the box," a new voice chimed in. All heads turned to see Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Earth's leading genophysicist, enter the room. "We've been analyzing the void's weapon signatures. They're not erasing matter. They're phasing it out of our dimension. A murmur ran through the assembled aliens. Zerak's antenna twitched with interest. "How does that help us, Doctor?" Yuki's eyes gleamed with excitement. "If we can understand the process, we might be able to reverse it. Or better yet, use it against them." Elena nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. Classic human thinking. If you can't beat them with strength, outsmart them. Kazarek scoffed. "And how long will it take to develop such technology? We're losing worlds by the hour." "That's where you come in," Elena said, turning to the Draconian. "Your people are renowned warriors. We need you to lead a delaying action. Buy us time to work on this." The war chief's eyes narrowed. "You expect us to sacrifice our fleets as a distraction?" Zerak stepped forward, her diplomatic instincts kicking in. "Not a distraction, War Chief. A crucial part of our strategy. Your warriors' bravery could make the difference between victory and annihilation." For a tense moment, Kazarek was silent. Then, slowly he nodded. "Very well. The Draconian Empire will hold the line. But this better work, humans." As the meeting adjourned, Zerak pulled Elena aside. "That was risky," she chittered softly. "The Draconians aren't known for their trust in other species." Elena's expression was grim. "We're all in this together now, Zerak. Old rivalries, old suspicions, none of that matters in the face of extinction." Over the next few weeks, an unlikely alliance began to form. Species that had been bitter enemies for millennia now found themselves fighting side by side. The Draconians' fierce warriors provided a bulwark against the Void's advance, while Centaurian diplomats like Zerak worked tirelessly to coordinate the galaxy's disparate forces. Humanity, despite being the newcomers, quickly proved their worth. Their adaptability and out-of-the-box thinking led to innovative tactics that, while not stopping the Void, at least slowed their inexorable march. In a makeshift lab aboard the Confederation flagship, Dr. Tanaka worked feverishly alongside a team of the galaxy's brightest minds. Zerak often found herself there, fascinated by the collaboration she witnessed. "It's extraordinary," she remarked to Elena one day, watching as a Volcran physicist debated quantum theory with a holographic AI from Earth. "A few years ago, most of these species wouldn't even speak to each other. Now look at them." Elena nodded, her eyes tired but determined. Adversity has a way of bringing people together, or aliens in this case. Their conversation was interrupted by an alarm. Dr. Tanaka's voice came over the intercom, breathless with excitement. "We've had a breakthrough. Everyone to the main lab now." As they rushed to the lab, Zerak felt a flutter of hope in her hearts. When they arrived, they found Dr. Tanaka standing before a shimmering field of energy. "We've managed to replicate the Void's phase shift technology on a small scale," she explained, her words tumbling out rapidly. "It's not weaponized yet, but it's a start." Kazarek, who had just entered, growled skeptically. "How does this help us in battle?" Dr. Tanaka's grin was almost predatory. "Because, War Chief, if we can phase matter out, we can phase it back in. Imagine, we could restore the worlds the Void has taken. And more importantly," she paused for effect, "we could potentially phase their ships into normal space, making them vulnerable to our weapons." A stunned silence fell over the room, broken only by Elena's soft whistle. "Now that's what I call a game changer." Zerak felt a surge of emotions, hope, excitement, and a touch of fear. "How soon can we implement this?" Dr. Tanaka's expression grew serious. "That's the catch. We need more data on the Void's technology. Which means, we need to capture one of their ships." Elena finished, her voice grim. Kazarek's scales bristled with anticipation. Finally, a real battle. My warriors have been itching for a true test of their mettle. As the group began to plan this daring mission, Zerak found herself marveling at the scene before her. Humans, with their audacious plans and relentless optimism. Draconians, their fierce pride now turned towards a common goal. Volcran, Centaurians, and a dozen other species, all working in harmony. She caught Elena's eye and saw her own thoughts reflected there. This alliance, forged in the crucible of an existential threat, was something new in the galaxy. And just maybe, it was exactly what they needed to face the darkness that threatened to engulf them all. As the planning session stretched into the night cycle, Zarak allowed herself a moment of hope. The road ahead was perilous, the odds still stacked against them. But for the first time since the void appeared, she felt like they had a real chance. The galaxy was uniting, and at its heart stood humanity. Newcomers who had, in just a few short years, become an indispensable part of this cosmic tapestry. Whatever came next, Zarak knew, would shape the destiny of all their peoples for eons to come. The turning point. The bridge of the Confederation flagship, Unity, was a hive of tense activity. Zarak stood at her station, all four arms working furiously as she coordinated communications between the disparate elements of their makeshift armada. Beside her, Elena paced restlessly, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. Draconian battle group in position, Zarak reported. Centaurian cloaking fields active. Human stealth ships. Wait, where are the human ships? Elena's lips quirked in a small smile. Exactly where they're supposed to be. If we can't see them, neither can the void. Before them, the inky blackness of space was occasionally punctuated by the eerie, light-absorbing hull of a void ship, their target. A massive dreadnought that intelligence suggested housed the void's phase-shift technology, hung ominously at the center of the enemy formation. Dr. Tanaka's voice crackled over the comm. Remember, we need that ship relatively intact. Our boarding teams will only have one shot at this. War Chief Kazarek's gravelly voice responded, My warriors are ready. We will not fail. As if on cue, space itself seemed to tear open. A swirling vortex of energy appeared, and from it emerged the pride of the Draconian fleet, massive, scaled ships bristling with weapons. They immediately engaged the void's outer defenses, drawing attention away from the dreadnought. Now, Elena barked. Suddenly, previously empty space shimmered as Centaurian ships decloaked, their crystalline hulls refracting starlight in dazzling patterns. They darted between the larger combatants, their precision weapons targeting the void ship's vulnerable points, weak spots identified through weeks of careful analysis. Zarak watched in awe as the battle unfolded. The Draconians' raw power combined with Centaurian finesse was a sight to behold. But where were the humans? Her question was answered moments later when alarms blared across the void dreadnought. Explosions blossomed along its hull, seemingly from nowhere. Boarding successful, Elena reported, her voice tight with tension. Our teams are in. What followed was the longest hour of Zarak's life. The space around them erupted into chaos as void reinforcements arrived, threatening to overwhelm their forces. The Draconian lines began to buckle under the assault. We can't hold much longer. Kazarek roared over the comm. Where is this miracle weapon you promised, humans? As if in answer, the void dreadnought suddenly went dark. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with a flash of light that seemed to bend reality itself, the massive ship phased back into normal space. We did it. Dr. Tanaka's jubilant voice filled the bridge. We've reversed their phase shift technology. The dreadnought is vulnerable. Elena's eyes gleamed. All ships, concentrate fire on the target. Let's show them what a united galaxy can do. What followed was a display of firepower unlike anything Zarak had ever witnessed. Draconian energy lances, Centaurian photon streams, and exotic weapons from a dozen other species converged on the void dreadnought. Without its phase shift defenses, the once invulnerable ship began to break apart. As the dreadnought exploded in a spectacular burst of light and debris, a cheer went up across the entire fleet. For the first time since the war began, they had dealt the void a significant blow. But their celebration was short-lived. As the dust settled, they realized the battle was far from over. The remaining void ships, though disoriented, were regrouping. We've bloodied their nose, Elena said grimly, but they're not beaten yet. Zarak nodded, her earlier elation giving way to determination. What's our next move? Before Elena could respond, a new voice cut across the comm channels. Deep, resonant, and filled with barely contained rage. Insignificant motes of dust. You dare to challenge the inevitability of the void. The main view screen flickered, revealing the shifting, dark energy form of what could only be the void's leader. Its voice seemed to bypass their ears, resonating directly in their minds. Your victory is meaningless. We are endless, eternal. We will unmake your reality, no matter how long it takes. Elena stepped forward, her voice steady. You're wrong. What you've seen today is just the beginning. We may be motes of dust to you, but together we form entire worlds, entire galaxies, and we will never stop fighting for our right to exist. The void entity seemed to ripple with anger. Then you will suffer before the end. We will. Its threat was cut off as Elena gestured for the communication to be terminated. She turned to the bridge crew, her eyes blazing with determination. That, ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all designations, is what we call rattling their cage. They're scared now. They know we can hurt them. Zerak felt a surge of admiration for the human's audacity. What's our next step, Elena? Elena's grin was fierce. Now we take the fight to them. Dr. Tanaka's team has the data they need. We're going to upgrade our entire fleet with phase shift technology. And then, she paused, looking out at the stars. Then we're going to show the void that the light of life in this galaxy isn't so easily extinguished. As the fleet regrouped and began the journey back to friendly space, Zarek reflected on how far they'd come. From disparate, often antagonistic species to a united force capable of standing against cosmic horrors. And at the center of it all, humanity, the newcomers who had, in their own strange way, brought them all together. The war was far from over, but for the first time, victory seemed possible. As Zerak looked around the bridge, at Elena's determined face, at the mixture of species working in harmony, she felt something she hadn't experienced in a long time. Hope. The void had made a grave miscalculation. They had assumed that by threatening all life, they would cause panic and division. Instead, they had forged an alliance stronger than any in galactic history, and at its heart stood humanity, adaptable, innovative, and unbreakable. As the Unity jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying news of their victory to the rest of the Confederation, Zarak knew that this was more than just a turning point in the war. It was the dawn of a new era for the entire galaxy. A new era. 5 years had passed since the battle that turned the tide against the void. Zarak stood on the observation deck of New Harmony Station, watching as ships from 100 different species docked and departed. The station, built at the former front line of the war, now served as a symbol of galactic unity and cooperation. Her reflection in the transparent aluminum window caught her eye. She looked older, more seasoned. The war had left its mark on all of them, but it had also forged them into something greater. Credit for your thoughts. Elena's voice came from behind her. The human diplomat had aged as well, silver streaks now, prominent in her dark hair. Zarak turned, her mandibles clicking in a centaurian smile, just marveling at how much has changed. A decade ago, I never would have imagined this. Elena nodded, joining her at the window. It's pretty incredible, isn't it? We faced annihilation and instead found unity. The final battles against the void had been hard-fought and costly. With their phase shift advantage neutralized, the void had resorted to more conventional warfare, but on a scale that dwarfed anything the galaxy had seen before. It had taken years of grueling combat, technological leaps, and unprecedented cooperation to finally push them back to the galactic fringe. Have you heard the latest from the Council? Elena asked, interrupting Zarak's reminiscence. Zarak shook her head. I've been busy with the cultural exchange program. What's happening? Elena's eyes twinkled. They're proposing to formalize our wartime alliance, a true galactic federation, with equal representation for all species. Zarak's antenna twitched in surprise. Even the Draconians agreed to this. Surprisingly, yes. I think the war changed them as much as it changed us. Kazarek himself is leading the push for it on their end. As if summoned by his name, the gruff voice of the Draconian war chief, now ambassador, came from behind them. Discussing politics without me, humans. They turned to see Kazarek approach, his scales gleaming in the starlight. Despite his formal title, he still moved with a warrior's grace. Wouldn't dream of it, old friend, Alina said warmly. We were just admiring the view. Kazarek joined them at the window, his reptilian eyes scanning the bustling activity outside. It is not unimpressive, he admitted grudgingly, though I still say we could use more weapon emplacements. Zerak chittered in amusement. Some things never change. The war is over, Ambassador. This is a place of peace now. Peace, Kazarek growled, maintained by strength and vigilance. The void may be defeated, but they're not gone. We must remain prepared. Elena nodded solemnly. Agreed, but we can be strong and still embrace peace. That's what this station, what this whole Federation, is about. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime. Dr. Tanaka's hologram appeared before them, her excitement palpable even through the projection. Sorry to interrupt, she said, not sounding sorry at all. But you're going to want to see this. We've made a breakthrough with the phase shift technology. Intrigued, they followed her hologram to one of the station's main labs. Inside, a team of scientists from various species worked in harmony, a sight that still filled Zorak with wonder. Dr. Tanaka gestured to a large, shimmering portal in the center of the lab. We've managed to stabilize a large-scale phase shift. This isn't just a weapon anymore. It's a doorway. Belina's eyes widened. You mean? Exactly, Dr. Tanaka beamed. We can now safely travel to other dimensions. Whole new universes are open to us. The implications were staggering. Zorak felt her head spin at the possibilities. But is it safe? After everything we've been through with the void. Kazarek snorted. Since when has safe ever stopped humanity? Or any of us, for that matter? Elena laughed. He's got a point. We didn't come this far by playing it safe. But, she added, seeing Zorak's concern, we'll proceed with caution. We've learned that lesson well. As they discussed the ramifications of this new discovery, Zerak found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. From first contact to existential war to this moment of infinite possibility, it had been a transformation beyond anything she could have imagined. Humanity had been the catalyst, the spark that ignited a galactic renaissance. Their adaptability, their relentless drive to explore and understand had changed everything. But it wasn't just humanity. Every species had risen to the challenge, contributing their unique strengths to forge this new reality. So, Elena said, bringing Zorak back to the present, who wants to be the first to step through? Kazarek bared his teeth in what passed for a draconian grin. You humans truly are mad. I volunteer my finest warriors for the expedition. Now hold on, Zorak interjected, surprising herself. Centaurian sensors are the most advanced in the known galaxy. If anyone should go first, it should be us. As the friendly argument escalated, with more species joining in via hologram, Elena caught Zorak's eye. They shared a moment of understanding. This, right here, was the future they had fought for. A galaxy united not in fear, but in curiosity and shared purpose. Later, as the first joint expedition prepared to step through the portal, Zorak stood with Elena, watching the diverse team of explorers. You know, Zorak said softly, when I first met humans, I thought you were primitive, even dangerous. I never imagined you'd be the ones to bring us all together like this. Elena smiled, a hint of mischief in her eyes. Well, we're full of surprises. It's kind of our thing. As the expedition disappeared into the shimmering portal, Zorak felt a profound sense of hope. Whatever lay beyond, be it wonders or challenges, they would face it together. Humanity had shown them the way, But every species in the galaxy had chosen to follow, to become part of something greater than themselves. The void had sought to unmake them, to return the galaxy to emptiness. Instead, they had catalyzed a new age of unity, exploration, and limitless potential. As Zorak looked out at the stars, she knew that this was just the beginning. The greatest adventure in galactic history was about to unfold, and they would all be part of it together.